Hi everyone, welcome to Class 10 of Map Painting in Digital Environments. Today, Class 10's basically going to be split into two parts now. It's just far too much information to cover in one lesson. I came across a few challenges as I was putting the project shot together, so I just wanted to cover everything, I guess, that's important and worth covering. So today I'll kind of look at, I guess, from scratch, from what you saw, I get the way the render passes were, look at texturing up the primary projection. Now, I'm kind of up to here at the moment, and it's got a bit of a grade on it. Just adding a bit of atmospherics and stuff, which I'll have basically be getting to next week now. There's, textures on the main parts of the buildings have got textures. I'm kind of happy with some stuff. I've got to fix some stuff. Obviously, I haven't done any of the patching yet, so that needs to be done. But the foreground area is an issue, and I'll be covering that today. But so I'll just quickly kind of show you where my head was at. I'm basically, at the moment, it's just kind of starting concentrating these terraces, because there's there's two kind of hero buildings in the ground and this extra building here. But just starting with this one and started kind of working up some bits. Now, basically the way I'm going to do this is kind of similar to the way I did Red Dwarf, where I'm going to use some shots, and I found some terrace examples. But this location here I found was great, just because of the beautiful textures. Now when it's shot kind of nighttime, just to get some lighting in there. And, I've shot there a couple of various times now. Just to get, it's just a nice kind of really old, really textury building. So I thought I could use some of this. So I've started integrating that, and I'll just kind of show you quickly how I was thinking. So, from that shot there, I've started building up this. Then obviously I don't want the trees there, so I clone them out, just roughly. But then I also wanted to integrate the windows from the other shot, or from down here. So kind of from down here, because they're nice and black, and, glass is a problem, because obviously with a moving shot you'll have varying, you'd have projections that aren't really moving. So, there are ways to deal with that, but it's not really something I wanted to have to deal with too much on this shot. So, and then I've kind of got some paint. So, hang on, I'll turn that one on first. So, and I've got a mask just for that, which will help me when I want to actually put this shot onto one of the other angles. Now, that's something, it's a good point to make now, is that, it's good not to apply your masks and keep any excess that you've got, because you may, and so what I'll tend to do is try and, I'll probably actually bring that mask up into the top, into the kind of the nest, or the group mask, because I'll need some of that stuff on say one of the patch cams. So it's good, obviously, not to throw it away, and try and have it in there, because we are to kind of distort it and skew it to fit. Now, because the thing is that you can find buildings you can shoot, and that's obviously it's a big help. And the way map painting is these days is you use some photos, but then you have to paint, because obviously you can't get, in most situations, you can't get up high or whatever, or back far enough, or there's usually a whole range of restrictions that you have to be able to shoot the different patch cam angles. So for this one, if I was to use that entire building, I think I had to be up here looking down for one of them, or was up here, but there's trees in the way, etc. Plus I couldn't get up there with that cherry picker. You're kind of defeating the purpose of what's possible quickly. So basically, I've kind of brought in this quickly. I'll probably clean it up a bit more. Maybe use some blending options to just only have the blacks come through. That doesn't always work the way you want it. There's too many midtones. That's maybe a bit better. Anyway, that's kind of the idea. Then I've got, so I've started just really painting the edges as well. And so what I'll do is I'll kind of sit there with this texture and just try and integrate it into the scene. And then just extend it by painting, really, because, you're in a moving shot and, all you want to get rid of is this nice clean edge. Now, there'll be, times when you want these photographs, there'll be times when you want to paint, and obviously the more detail you do, the more realistic it's going to get. But it's better to just, start rough and work out what's going to work, because you might find something you've got in a photograph works better for that. So, it's a kind of little bit of guesswork at first, just to try and integrate everything. Obviously, if you can paint well, cool, but even better. But really, it's just about speed. So that's usually why there's a mixture of photographs and painting. And so the terrace here. So we just jump forward a bit and just move on to this terrace area. Now, I found these, and this is great. And something I wanted to address was this front section of the terrace. Now, it is something, it's very classic to have that in a terrace. So obviously we want to include it. Now, you could go and model it, but these things are usually pretty detailed, and, you don't really need to do that. It's not very thick, I guess is the way of putting it. So, you've got other options. You could put it separately on a card with an alpha, and that's probably what I'll do on this shot. It'll probably do. But so that basically just be a separate kind of shader on a card. You could go and do a bit of a displacement or a bump or a normals map, make up your own normals with one of those crazy bump programs, etc. There's lots of ways to do it, but there's no point modeling that, because it's not really thick enough to worry about. You're not going to see it, not once you're moving. So, not a big deal. But if I want to use this, obviously I'm going to have to get rid of it. So anyway, so let's say, knowing that this, it's kind of a similar angle, I think it'll work. So what I need to do is just basically start cut and paste and just start building up, see what works. So obviously we try and keep first up you get the perspective correct. It's just something like that. And you work out, so what have we got? We've got, so I guess the depth of it is quite different. So that's something we have to deal with. So you can see it there, it's about there. Because I could go and try and kind of stretch and squash it and try and make it fit, but it's not going to. There's no point making something look wrong because you've stretched it too far. If you know what I mean. Like, see, even now that looks like it's a little bit too stretched. So we're gonna have to bring that up and kind of squash that up. You just want it to kind of feel right or correct. And obviously we're just going to have to extend some stuff. So we have to remove the railing anyway. But I mean, this is a really good example of where you do a lot of painting. So yeah, cool. Let's say that fits. Now, obviously, the color's far too bright, but we'll deal with that afterwards. It was raw, so I could have processed it and pushed it down. But but it's honestly not a big deal because, we're going to really work this quite a lot. So if you put on multiply, you can see, so obviously we're going to lose all that. So, maybe that's the first thing to do. Let's create a mask and I've already done a path based off, I used a few of the segment IDs, but then just end up having to draw the path because, again, it doesn't always work. I mean, the pink moves over. It's, it works great for some things, but it's not always great. Anyway, sometimes quicker just to draw a path. So fill that, invert that. Okay, so you can see that where it is, I need to shift the perspective, bring that perspective up a little. But you can see the height of my thing's a little different, so maybe I won't really fiddle with that. I'll probably just extend the gutter. Get down. Anyway, that's fine for the moment. So first up, I'll probably just remove the railing. So here you got, lots of choices, clone, paint, whatever. I'm going to start painting this out. So I'll just use my kind of favorite brush, which is one of those good brush ones I posted the link to. I think it's like Good Brush 6, it's just a nice textured brush. And literally I'll just quickly go through and paint it. Or as I said, clone it. Depends, I'll do bits of both really. Cloning gives you a nice bit of texture, but you don't want to over clone because you can see cloning marks through it when you don't have enough information to clone. So that's why it's good to paint. And just pick colours from wherever you're coming from and going to. Move clone, etc. So I won't do all that now. Jump through. Same here. Obviously getting the perspective on the sandstone cuts is important because if you clone, down here, keep going down, etc., perspective won't shift as it should. It's not a huge shift here, but you've got lots of choices there. I tend to I'll probably just paint this, and literally just redraw some lines. They're just pixels at the stage right now. Make sure you get kind of follow your shadows and, as usual, it'll get darker as it goes to the bottom.